From the Legal Desk, this and every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Join us as we deal with your legal issues, questions, and concerns.
First of all, if he's selling a piece of his land, he has to do a subdivision for it, which can be quite costly. Wills are not costly, but it is one of the most essential documents that anybody can have.
Also get legal advice from the Scott Borising and Bonick Attorneys at Law Firm.
No, there is no land that you can sell for $100,000 and you don't have to put in money to finish the sale. So in that case, I would advise Donovan to try his best to come out of that sale, because it's actually going to cost him money. In the event you lose your will, you can always come back and we will find an original will for you.
We take the attorneys right to your doorstep this and every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. right here on Gensat TV. Hi, thanks for joining us. Now we have a new program on Gensat TV, and it is called From the Legal Desk, where legal issues are dealt with, legal questions are answered, and legal advice are given. Now the attorneys at law to advise you on this program are from Scott Borising and Bonick Attorneys at Law Firm. Where is this located? They have location in Maypen, Portmore, and of course in Kingston. But for the Maypen address, it is at 10 to 12 Bryan Crescent here in Maypen, the Woodrow B. Scott building. Now we have in studio with us an attorney at law from that very firm. She goes by the name Mrs. Nicola Scott Bonick. Hello, Mrs. Bonick.
Hi, how are you?
She look beautiful, not true? No, you don't see attorneys at law looking so beautiful these days, but trust me, hard work and beauty at the same time.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Thank you so much for being here today. Now, a number of times we have persons who want legal advice and for some reason or the other are afraid to come into the firm to be advised. Why so?
Well, sometimes people feel very shy about discussing their problems and issues, and when they realize from programs like yours that there are so many people who have the same problems, they are usually encouraged to talk about it and to come into the legal office to explore their solutions. And we are a firm, we love to provide solutions.
Okay, beautiful. And that's Scott Borising and Attorneys at Law.
That's correct.
Right. Now, there are many questions coming in today. We have asked persons to post their questions on Facebook and also to send their questions to our office line. That's 792-7551. And one of the questions coming in today, Mrs. Bonick, is if you purchased a piece of land and you got a receipt. Now, this is what the person said, and you have not received the title. The title takes a while to come. Who will be paying those back tax? Is it you responsible or the government?
Okay, well, those questions like that, it really goes to the individual situation. First of all, when you buy a piece of land, it has to be in writing. So it's good that at least you got a receipt. Now, I am assuming that that land is unregistered, which means there is no title that exists right off the bat. And the person is going to eventually give a title. If you are living on the land, you are in occupation, you are responsible to pay the taxes. Taxes goes to occupation.
Okay.
So it's not really about ownership, it's about occupation.
Okay.
So once you occupy the land, you're responsible for the taxes.
If you're not, then you should not pay.
If you are not in occupation, then whoever is in occupation or the owner should be responsible for the taxes. But once you as a buyer go onto the land, you're responsible to pay the taxes.
Okay, interesting. I hope that question was answered right there. if you, once you're occupying the land, then you are
Yes.
responsible to pay the tax. If not, then you're not.
You're not.
Okay, okay. The next question, and this is coming from our Facebook page, and it says, if you are divorced, or if you file for a divorce, how long will it take for you to get that divorce done?
Again, there are so many nuances, and this is why sometimes people really have to go in and sit before an attorney. Because say you're applying for a divorce and your spouse is in Jamaica, you can't find the spouse, and you have no children, then that's a relatively simple situation. And that divorce should take you maybe 8 months to a year.
Okay.
But let us say your spouse resides abroad, then it's a completely different situation because you have to serve that person abroad,
Okay.
which is a bit more complicated. Or let us say you have children, then you have to work out the maintenance for the children. So again, it would be more complicated. So once you have a spouse residing abroad, or you have children, or you have property, you can be looking at anywhere up to 2 years.
Wow. So it all depends on
All
the situation.
depends on the
at hand.
situation at hand.
Well, that's fair enough. I hope that question was answered too. Now, the next question, and it's coming from Donovan Clare, and it says, Donovan purchased a land, well, he has a land, and he would like to sell his friend a piece of land. He went ahead and did it without any legal advice, and that's for less than $100,000.
Well,
will
what
happen
I
in
would
that
say to
case?
Donovan is that he's doing an extremely dangerous thing. Because, first of all, if he's selling a piece of his land, he has to do a subdivision for it, which can be quite costly.
Okay.
A subdivision is something that a surveyor does. So the surveyor would measure off the piece, and then they would have to apply to the parish council for subdivision approval. Now, once he has done that and is now in a position to put the land in the other person's name, he has to pay transfer tax. Because once you're selling land, you pay transfer tax and you pay half stamp duty. And the transfer tax is quite costly. So you have to think, no, there's no land that you can sell for $100,000 and you don't have to put in money to finish the sale. So in that case, I would advise Donovan to try his best to come out of that sale because it's actually going to cost him money.
Can he refund that? Can he give back that money and then just go ahead without selling that land? As simple as that,
I
because it all
believe that
depends.
he should have a discussion with the purchaser and explain that he was not aware of the legalities surrounding it and offer him a refund. Because once a person understands that, I cannot possibly provide you with title, usually, they will understand that it doesn't make any sense.
But no legal action can be taken on both sides either because it wasn't legally done.
Well, it depends because let's say he gave the guy a receipt. The guy could say, listen, I don't care. I'm insisting that you go ahead with it. But a reasonable person would understand. And my advice to people selling land is a very complicated thing, especially in Clarendon. There are a lot of land issues and a lot of disputes that arise. And I urge everyone who goes into that kind of matter to get a lawyer.
Okay. So you are recommending, though, and advising persons that if you want to do legal stuff like that, get legal advice.
Get legal advice
because you can't go ahead
you
and
just can't do things like that. You get yourself into much more problem. And when you get into the problems, getting out of it is much more costly than if you just had gotten some advice. And it's just about, as anything else. If I went and I wanted to plant banana, no, I don't know anything about banana, I would have to go and ask a farmer, what should I do? So whatever you do, and you're not an expert at it, seek some expert advice.
Very, very important that you make the necessary arrangement, seek legal advice before you go ahead and make any decisions and take out any transactions or whatever it is. Because, as she said before, it's easier getting in than coming
getting
out. So
out.
you have to be very, very careful. Now, a situation, a friend of mine, I don't know if I can be personal with it, but a friend of mine, she is a young person. She's the only one for her father, and she has a land. Her father died leaving a land, but family members have taken it over. Is she or does she has any way of getting around to get owning that land for herself as opposed to?
I would assume that if she's the only child for her father, and I'm also assuming that the father was not married,
No, he was not married.
and the father did not leave a will,
No, there was
it
no
means
will.
that there's an act that determines who gets the property, and that is called the Intestates, Estates, and Property Charges Act.
Okay.
Because one, the law gives you the right to determine who gets what you have when you die. But if not, the law steps in and it goes to the nearest blood. And in this case, she's the nearest blood. So even without a will, she would be the sole beneficiary for her father.
Wow.
And she's the one who is entitled to all of that land. So this is a case of knowing your rights.
Wow.
So my advice to that young lady is run, find a lawyer to protect your rights. You are the sole beneficiary. That land is yours.
Wow. See, the Bible says that without knowledge, the people perish. Because in a case like that, it's your land, but because you don't have any legal knowledge, then you are without all of that.
Right.
So we have
And
to
people take advantage of you.
of you because
Once
you don't know your
they know you,
rights.
and especially she's a young person.
True.
The older ones would try to just manipulate her, and she really is the one with the power.
Yes, so it's very important that when you do have your legal questions and you want to be advised, seek an attorney. And of course, Scott Borising and Bonick is here for you, and they specialize in legal advices and stuff like that for you to be aware of your rights. Now, another question coming in on our Facebook page is from Andre Williams, and he says that a member of a family, a will was signed over for a piece of property to a member of his family, and the person who signed the will died. They can't find the will. So, but there is a witness to the will. What can be done in that case?
Well, that's a difficult one because you need the will.
Okay.
You need that paper writing. And without that, you literally have nothing.
Wow.
I remember, if you have a will today, the person can make another will tomorrow. So you can revoke the previous will. So it's not just about a witness. If you even had a copy of the will, but you must have that paper writing. Without that paper writing, you have nothing. And what we do at Scott Borising and Bonick, when we make a will for you, we keep an original.
Okay.
So in the event you lose your will, you can always come back and we will find an original will for you. So this is a service that we offer. Wills are not costly, but it is one of the most essential documents that anybody can have. I will tell you, a friend of mine whose wife is about 50 years old, relatively young woman, she just upped and died. I mean, the fact of the matter is we never know what can happen. And I was watching, Suze Orman, who is the financial guru in America, and she sent an email around to say that a will is one of the 4 essential documents that everybody should have. It not only protects us, it protects our children if we have minors. It determines our money, what happens to our possessions. I believe that it doesn't make sense that you work hard all your life, you pay taxes, you try to acquire something, and then you die, and the government decides what happens to it. It really doesn't make sense. So at Scott Morrison and Bonnick, we urge people, we try and do seminars on that very issue, just making a simple, inexpensive will and keeping it properly.
Wow. Now, in that case, the witness has no help in that situation.
I don't think
Can
that
offer
witness
no
can
aid.
offer any help unless they can come forward with some documentation to say, well, yes, this is what I witnessed.
So that person can, that family member can call that property a loss.
I think so.
Wow. So important is a
So
will,
important.
and yet we fail to make one.
Yes, and you see, what some people do is that they will go and they buy a will form. That's all well and good. But that's one copy of the will. If that will is lost, that's the end of the game.
Okay.
And, you know, for our audience, I would say, even if you buy a will form, make a photocopy.
Okay.
Because you can get permission from the court to probate a photocopy.
Okay.
But if you have nothing, you just have nothing.
So you don't need to have one paper. That's what you're saying. Because
What
something
I'm
can
saying
happen to
is
it.
have more than one.
More than one.
When we do wills, we do at least 3 originals. But if you go and you buy a will form and you make one, then at least photocopy it. Because if you have a photocopy, you have some evidence of the existence
Okay.
of the original, and that will help you.
And probably give it to somebody else.
And give it to somebody
because
for
he
safekeeping.
died and then nobody knows where it is.
Nobody knows where it is.
Wow, that's the issue.
Right.
Sometimes when they die, nobody knows where they put what, and then you're searching the entire house, and then everything goes down in loss.
Right.
So we have to be very
Right.
careful.
What we also offer is that we offer a package. It's a simple thing, but just something that you can keep your important documents and just tell somebody where it is. You know? Because I have had clients who have spent time searching for important documentation and you don't have a clue where to start looking.
Okay.
So if you have some place that you keep your important documents and you even say to somebody, okay, my stuff is in my dresser drawer, at least you have a clue
True.
where to start looking.
On the point of will, for those who may not know, Mrs. Bonnick, what is a will?
A will is a legal document that you make indicating how you want your stuff to be shared if you were to die. And there are legal requirements that that paper document has to meet. So you have to have 2 witnesses. So if you have 1 witness, it's not a good will.
Wow.
And you can't, a minor can't witness a will, right? And you have to have at least 1 executor. It's advisable that you do at least 2 because 1 can die.
Okay.
So if you have 2, you have 1 left to do the work.
I was asking the person though if the witness is a JPR pastor, because I'm thinking that if the witness is a JPR pastor, then there are more possibility that they would be more believable, and then you can
I
say.
agree with you 100%.
so?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So what you have here in Jamaica is that people will contend that the will is fraudulent. But if the witness is a JP or a pastor or a lawyer, then they just have more credibility.
Okay.
So you would be in a better position that your will stand up, you know, to allegations of fraud. So I fully and completely agree with you.
Interesting. Who can write a will? I'm 25.
You know-
Can I write one?
Yes.
If I have any possession, any valuables, maybe?
Once you're over 18, you can write a will. And you don't even have to say in it what your possessions are.
Okay.
You can say all my possessions. You know, I leave to some X, Y, and Z. So you don't even have to name it out.
Okay.
Because sometimes we don't have much to name
True.
out. So even a simple thing like that will help you.
Wow.
And especially if you have children. Because what your will can do, you know, you can appoint a trustee for your children in the will. So say you have a 5-year-old, you can say that if anything happens to me, I appoint Nicola as trustee for my
Okay.
child. So everybody knows that this is the person responsible. So things like that. And then you can deal with what you want, how you want to be buried, or if you want to
In
be
the will.
in the will, you can do all of that.
So what about the body parts though? I heard that you can put your body parts in the will? I don't know.
If you, well,
probably a
sometimes,
kidney or
yeah, sometimes you want to donate your organs for research or so on. So you can also state that.
just want
I
to
mean,
clarify that.
in Jamaica, in America, they have something called a living will, which deals with your health issues. We don't have that in Jamaica.
Okay.
But this is one of the ways in which we can deal with issues
Okay.
that concern us. So it's a really
True.
useful tool that
True.
everybody ought to engage. In fact, I tell you the truth that I was in the process of revising my will.
Okay.
And when I heard that the lady died, I signed a draft. I say at least there's something signed. Because we really have to be very aware. And it's not old people dying nowadays. Everybody. It's an equal
so
opportunity situation right now. So even as young people, we need to do something.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bonnick.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming in. And of course, she is an attorney at law at Scott, Borising and Bonnick there at the Woodrow B. Scott Building, 10 to 12 Bryan Crescent in Maypen. And of course, they're located in Portmore and also in Kingston. And as the addresses are on the screen. This has been from the legal desk, where we deal with legal issues, answer your legal questions, and also give you legal advice. Until next time, I'm Abigail Blair.
From the legal desk, this and every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Join us as we deal with your legal issues, questions, and concerns. Also get legal advice from the Scott, Borising and Bonnick attorneys at law firm. We take the attorneys right to your doorstep. This and every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. right here on GenSat TV.